Story 1. Ranger Jack had been patrolling Pinewood Forest for years, its towering trees and dense undergrowth his familiar companions. The forest was his sanctuary, a place where he could escape the hustle and bustle of city life. But on this particular night, a sense of unease settled over him as he ventured deeper into the wilderness. As darkness descended, the forest transformed into an eerie labyrinth of shadows and sounds. The usual chirping of crickets and rustling of leaves was replaced by an oppressive silence that made Jack's skin crawl. He pressed on, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, his senses heightened, alert for any sign of danger. Suddenly, his flashlight beam illuminated a sight that sent a chill down his spine. Nestled amidst the towering pines, there was a campsite he had never seen before. A fire crackled in the center, casting an orange glow on the surrounding trees. But it was the objects scattered around the fire that truly horrified Jack. Blood-stained knives, axes, and machetes were strewn across the ground, their edges gleaming ominously in the firelight. A sense of dread washed over Jack as he realized the implications of what he was seeing. The missing persons reports that had been circulating in the area for months flashed in his mind. His heart pounding in his chest, Jack slowly approached the campsite, his flashlight beam scanning the area for any sign of movement. The air was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the crackling of the fire. As he drew closer, he heard a noise, a low growl that seemed to emanate from the depths of the forest. Jack froze, his breath catching in his throat. The growl came again, closer this time, sending a shiver down his spine. He knew he had to get out of there, but his legs felt like lead. He turned to run, but as he did, a figure emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing red in the firelight. A scream caught in Jack's throat as the figure lunged towards him, its claws outstretched. Jack ducked just in time, the creature's claws grazing his cheek. He scrambled to his feet and ran, the creature's growls echoing behind him. He stumbled through the dark forest, his heart pounding in his chest, until he finally collapsed, exhausted and terrified. He lay there for a long time, catching his breath, his mind reeling from the events of the night. As he lay there, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had been in the presence of something evil, something that lurked within the shadows of Pinewood Forest, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim. Story 2. Ranger David was patrolling the dense, remote forest of Pine Grove National Park when his radio crackled to life. It was a fellow ranger, his voice urgent and laced with fear. "David, you need to get here now. We found something we can't explain." Despite the eerie darkness that had settled over the forest, David sped his ranger truck through the winding roads, his heart pounding in his chest. He had spent years exploring every corner of Pine Grove, but he had never heard of any hidden caves or underground tunnels. As he approached the location his fellow ranger had described, he saw a faint glow emanating from the depths of the forest. He parked his truck and ventured into the darkness, his flashlight cutting through the thick undergrowth. The glow grew stronger as he got closer, and soon he found himself standing before a massive stone archway, its entrance shrouded in darkness. This was no ordinary cave. It was an ancient portal, a gateway to an unknown world. David hesitated for a moment, his hand hovering over the archway. He could feel a strange energy pulsing from within, a force that seemed to beckon him closer. But then he heard a voice that echoed through the darkness, deep and powerful, yet filled with an ancient wisdom. "Turn back," the voice said, its tone both warning and sorrowful. "This is not a place for mortals." David froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He had never heard a voice like it before, a voice that seemed to come from the very earth itself. He knew he should listen to the warning, but an irresistible curiosity pulled him forward. David stepped through the archway. He felt an overwhelming sense of power surge through him, and he stumbled forward, falling to the ground. His body began to shake uncontrollably, and his heart pounded in his chest. Another ranger who had been following David rushed to his side. He lifted David to his feet and helped him back to the ranger truck. David's body temperature was rising rapidly, and he was becoming delirious. The ranger rushed David to the nearest hospital. David was treated for heat stroke and dehydration, but the doctors could find no other explanation for his sudden illness. When he finally recovered, he had no memory of what had happened after he stepped through the archway. David was released from the hospital, but he was never the same. He was haunted by the feeling that he had crossed a line, that he had ventured into a place where he didn't belong. He would never forget the warning voice he had heard in the cave, the voice that had told him to turn back. David continued to work as a park ranger, but he never again approached the archway. He knew that the cave held secrets that were too dangerous for human minds to comprehend. He had seen the power that lay within, and he knew that he was lucky to have escaped with his life. The cave remained a mystery, a hidden portal to an unknown world, and David, the park ranger who had dared to cross its threshold, would forever carry the chilling memory of what he had seen and heard within its depths. Story 3. The dense forest of Pine Grove National Park was a place of mystery and intrigue, a vast expanse of towering trees and hidden depths, concealing secrets untold. Ranger Mike, a man well acquainted with the forest's labyrinthine paths, was on his nightly patrol, accompanied by his rookie partner Tom. As darkness descended, casting long, eerie shadows that danced among the trees, their ranger truck sputtered to a halt. A surge of frustration washed over Mike, but he quickly regained his composure. Stranded in the heart of the forest, miles from civilization, they decided to spend the night in the truck. As they settled in for the night, an unsettling silence enveloped them, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant hooting of an owl. Tom, still unnerved by the isolation, couldn't shake off a sense of unease. Mike, ever the seasoned ranger, reassured him that they were safe, that the forest was their home. Just as they drifted off to sleep, a jolting movement shook the truck. Tom awoke with a start, his heart pounding in his chest. The truck was slowly inching forward, as if an unseen force was pushing it towards the edge of a nearby cliff. Mike, startled awake by the movement, glanced at the dashboard. The handbrake was firmly engaged, the truck in park. Yet it continued to move, gaining momentum with every passing moment. Fear gripped Tom's heart as he realized the impending danger. He scrambled to open the door, but it was jammed shut, as if an invisible barrier prevented their escape. Mike, his mind racing, tried to steer the truck away from the cliff's edge, but the wheels refused to respond. The truck was under the control of an unseen force, pulling them towards the precipice. As the truck teetered on the brink, a blinding light erupted from the depths of the forest, illuminating the surrounding trees with an otherworldly glow. The truck rocked violently. Then suddenly, with a deafening screech, it came to a jarring halt. Tom and Mike sat frozen in shock, their eyes wide with fear. The light faded, leaving them in the darkness once again. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by their ragged breaths. They cautiously opened the door, stepping out into the chilly night air. The truck was inches from the edge of the cliff, its rear wheels firmly planted on the ground. They looked around, searching for the source of the unseen force, but there was nothing but the dense forest surrounding them. The light had vanished, leaving them in the darkness, their hearts still pounding from the terrifying experience. As they climbed back into the truck, a chilling realization dawned upon them. The forest was not just a place of beauty and mystery. It held secrets far beyond their comprehension, secrets that could be both alluring and terrifying. They decided to wait until dawn to fix the truck and then return to the cliff's edge to investigate further. As they drifted off to sleep, the events of the night played out in their minds, leaving them wondering if they would ever fully understand the mysteries of Pine Grove National Park.